Hello everybody, welcome to the video Black Ops 2. I'm using the Type 25. It's one of the early assault rifles. You already know that, okay? You know what the fucking gun is. You know what the game is, blah, blah, blah. But anyways, this is not about the gameplay. As you can see from the intros, this is wrestling stories. Now you're probably thinking, Ben, what is wrestling stories? Because it's been fucking forever since I've actually put any on my channel. In fact, I might have deleted all the other ones off my channel because I was thinking, you know what, I'm just not going to do them anymore. They don't get a lot of views. But then it occurred to me, there are people who are specifically subscribe to me for wrestling stories and are wrestling fans themselves, and who knows, the new subscribers might like it also. Plus, I got a message in my inbox asking if I could do wrestling stories again, so you know what, here is a wrestling story for you. Oh, one other thing before I get started, Black Ops 2, a little quick thing about the game. I don't have super great gameplays right now, but eventually I'll get them. It's just, this game is hard for me, and I gotta grind on it, and I plan on grinding on it, because it does look like it could be a fun game, except for, of course, the lag. But if I can get good matches and good lobbies, then we'll see what's up. But if you want to play with me, you can just message on PlayStation, Ben8213, on Xbox 360, which I don't have Black Ops 2. The only COD I have on Xbox 360 right now is Modern Warfare 2, but you can also play with me on that, and that's Benjamin8213. So if you want to play with me, just send me a request or whatever, and we can totally have games together. It'll be totally fun. We'll kick ass. Okay, so on to wrestling stories. Now, let's see here. I'm trying to think of a good wrestling story that, once again, involves wrestling names that you heard of. And usually I try to keep them funny, but let's make this wrestling story, you know, just shooting the shit about wrestling in general. How about this? There's a lot of people out there that want to be professional wrestlers, and when I was a professional wrestler trainer, trainer, I saw about 200 new faces every year, and of those 200, maybe 1 or 2 would last until they actually could get into matches, you know, last about a year until they could have their own matches and whatnot. And of those 1 and 2 that did last a year, it was fucking a huge coin flip if they made it their second year. Of all the people I've trained in wrestling, and I've probably at least had at least 1 training session with about 1,000 other potential workers, I can only think of 3 that actually ever did anything. Now, first of all, if you want to get into wrestling, you have to go to a wrestling school. Not exactly a wrestling school, but you have to get properly trained. You're not going to learn how to fucking get trained wrestling in your back fucking yard. I'm sorry. It just doesn't work that way. You need to get properly trained. For safety reasons, for fine-tuning reasons, and for credibility reasons, because a lot of independent circuits will take you, and WWE's been known to take a yard or 2, but at the end of the day, your catalog and your resume in wrestling is huge. So get properly trained. But okay, here's a story about a guy that I was training when I was wrestling, and I'll use his worker name. His name was Paul B. Onion. Onion as in what you eat, and Paul Bunyan. Now, if you're not from the United States of America, you're probably thinking, okay, I don't get it. What's Paul Bunyan? You may have heard of, there's a folk tale in America about Paul Bunyan. He was a lumberjack that was anywhere from 10 feet to 200 feet tall and blah, blah, blah. And like all the mountains in America and whatnot were made from Paul Bunyan, and he had a giant ox. Either way, it's a folk tale. It's a myth and whatnot. He's a giant. Well, anyways, his name is Paul B. Onion. And Paul B. Onion was really stupid. And in wrestling, stupid does not fly with me, because if you are stupid, you're gonna hurt somebody, and if that somebody is even potentially me, or you did something that I could have been hurt, I'm probably gonna kick the shit out of you. Because unlike WWE, in the independent wrestling scene, it's still very old school. Okay, in WWE, you can't kick the shit out of somebody in the locker room and blah blah blah, because it's a corporation. Okay, it's just like right up there at the NFL or Microsoft. Okay, but in the indies, wrestling is still very much an outlaw sport, and that's why wrestling has had its troubles that it has had, because wrestlers are very much outlaws and think they're above the law because they're always on the move, so the law doesn't have time to get to them. WWE's kind of changing that. I honestly think it's for the better. But anyways, back to Paul B. Onion. Paul B. Onion got lucky, just like I got lucky. We were shorthanded one night and we needed him in a match. So what we did is we just threw him in a tag match. No, wait, what did we do? We did not throw him in a tag match. What we did is we like put him as a manager, I think, of somebody, or either way, he was escorting somebody out to the ring and he was going to be their backup, right? Because he did have a good look to him. I mean, he was a mean looking son of a bitch, right? Well, I think he was my backup. No, he wasn't my backup. I can't remember. This is a long time ago. But all I do is remember is the single isolated incident, right? Well, when Paul B. Onion got out there, right away he started shaking. He wasn't shaking because he was nervous, even though he probably was. He was fucking starstruck. Here were people cheering and woo woo, and he was the total center of attention, which is like what every YouTube person aspires to be. In fact, I'm going to put Chris Katera's name in the title of this just because, one, he might get in on wrestling stories. I've asked him to do wrestling stories in the past, but I never followed through with it, so that's kind of my fault. I'm really sorry about that. Maybe I can get some other wrestlers to do wrestling stories too, because down the street is actually someone I wrestle with, or used to wrestle with. He turned out to be one of my next door neighbors, and I didn't even know it. In fact, the town I live in, there's about 6 wrestlers. But anyways, Paul B. Onion, starstruck in the middle of the ring, just right? In the match, I was the heel, I was the bad guy, and I was beating up on the good guy, and the good guy had Paul B. Onion in his corner. And this is what I was doing. I was beating up on guys, which coincidentally was during my no bumping spree, which was completely by accident. It was just the way the match and the psychology was working out. I won 15 matches without even taking a fall. Well, anyways, I was beating up on the guy, right? And Paul B. Onion, he runs in and he chases me off, and I'm like, oh, you son of a bitch, Paul B. Onion, you're gonna get yours. And he's sitting there with his arms crossed, and then he puts his hands on his hip, and he's trying to fucking look at me with his meanest look, which pretty much looks like one of the chipmunks that is like 500 pounds too heavy and is fucking high on cocaine or something. Anyways, he's shaking like a motherfucker. He's not keeping character, and in my head, I'm thinking, oh my god, these fans are fucking getting gypped. This is looking like shit. And then, what do I see? What do I see? A big dark spot forming at Paul B. Onion's nutsack. That's right. He pissed himself. Wrestling story over.